So, it's here. The video that you've been waiting for the dirt track that you've been waiting for. If you've ever wondered what the love child of Volusia and Kokomo would look like? Well, you've got it right here with Weedsport. What's up, everybody? Thomas Brandon here. Welcome to another School of Sim Racing video. Now, we just had the big build yesterday. Dirt, we got a new track. We did get a little physics change in terms of the gravity of the track for water. So this is actually pretty cool. The way that the water, when you water a banked track, okay, gravity takes over. And so normally what tends to happen is that the water will actually build up, you know, down low. Um, Now, usually this is not just something that happens with like watering the track one. It's part of track prep, but it does do that. And so with them, and the little bit that I've ran since the new build, since the update and everything, I gotta say the bottom seemed to last. It really made. We had some really good uh two wide two groove racing in the race that we ran last night at Volusia in the 360s, the little fun race that we did ourselves at SSR. So so far so good. Now, Weedsport, this is gonna be this is a unique track. It's a very unique track. I like it. If you are a bottom feeder, rejoice, your track has been built. I mean, this is your track. uh it's got a very distinct, unique line. One of the really unique things that I think we're gonna see with this track is you are gonna see far more passing on the exits of the corners than going into the corners. So a lot of times, we'll see, a slide job, something along those lines, or someone's running high and they just go low and then they just beat them. Here really you're going to have opportunities to undercut people. You're going to have a lot of opportunities where you might be running this almost the same line on entry, but how you perform that exit is going to determine whether or not you can pull the pass. There's a real diamond line that kind of takes place on turns 1 and 2. 3 and 4 is much more wide sweeping. That's why I said it's kind of like, uh, I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, it's like a small Volusia. I actually would say it's more like a bigger but narrower version of Kokomo. You've really got to rotate the car in 1 and 2. 3 and 4 is wide sweeping, but the wall comes up on you in a hurry. By the middle of the turn, you want to make sure that you are pointing down that next straightaway because that wall is going to come up really, really fast. Now, in terms of lap times, I've gotten, I think 12.6 is my fastest. Haven't turned a whole lot of laps here. It a lot of just kind of testing and tweaking. You can see 18 laps over an hour. Now I haven't been here the whole time. I just kind of was letting this thing run. I've been doing other stuff. I got kind of sidetracked, but it's 12.6. Is right about, I think I can probably take another tenth or two off of that if I wanted to like fine tune the setup and, really work on the line and stuff like that. Because I can see where there's spots I'm losing time. Now, what I will tell you is this. I do think that the funnest cars for this track are going to be the midgets, followed by the winged sprint cars. The non-wing sprint cars I think are going to be fun here too. It's going to really, really take a lot of throttle control. And then the late models and mods. I'm not going to run legends or street stocks here, you guys. I don't drive those things. I hate those cars, so I just don't even touch them. But I do think that's kind of going to be, the order of things. To me, the late models feel really big on this track, but that's kind of skewed because to me the late models always feel big. I do a lot more open wheel stuff, so late models always feel big to me. I'm always running into the walls and door banging things. So take it with a grain of salt in my opinion. But anyways, let me show you just kind of my lap here on the sprint car. I imagine that this is going to be the line for all cars. I would imagine, but This was wide open. One thing that I want you to really think about is the wing. Wing angle is awesome here. I'm running 30 degrees on a, it was a fresh 5% track or something. I mean, I'm running 30. So, the wing angle really helps you. I'm also really winging this thing over because that's really slowing you. That's really, helping to slow you down. This track is really fast, and then these corners are tight, especially 1 and 2. So if we watch this here, you're going to notice I'm wide open. Oops, that was the test on the high side, and I smacked it into the wall. I've been trying to figure out a line around the top. I've not figured one out yet. At least when I say the top, I mean where I'm actually riding the wall all the way around. There is a high group, but you're really cutting off a lot of the top there. Kind of like Volusia in that sense. So, see, sweep down. It's kind of a slider line. Go up, and then you're going to drop down again. And then you really want to make sure and pay attention to that right there. Right there. You can see, you can see my car is really, really rotated. Right there. I'm basically pointing down the straightaway already. So that's going to be really, really important because if you don't do that, that wall's going to bite you. And you can see it's still, I got really, really close to it. Okay. Now the setup that I'm running here, we got 13 inches of stagger. I've got 1.25 bars down the right, thousands down the left. I've got the left side tied down right now. On the right side, you can see I've got pretty stiff shocks on the right side and low rebound. Really that right rear shock, what that's doing is that's going into the corner, and then that stiff bump, that's actually helping to turn the car. So I've got, you can see here, a very right rear dominant car. So this thing is really driving around on the right rear. Now, when I was doing some testing on the slick tracks, I was liking more of a balanced and left rear dominant car. So it's going to be really interesting. Another thing you're going to notice, I got my bump rubber at 250. 250 or 500, either one. I've noticed just a slight difference. I mean, it's really slight. Like I said in the setup workshop, the Packer is really what matters the most in terms of how far it wings over. But I did have it at 250, so we'll keep it there. 567 gear seems to be about right. You can go to a little bit shorter gear if you want to go to like 570, even 574 if you really want to wind it up. And then I think on the slick track, you might be able to go to a 560. I think if you try to go any more than that, you're going to really be bogging it down. So unless this thing gets right on the wall, and even if it does get right on the wall, you have to let out the throttle. Not only that, you've got to use some brake in some situations. If you're running a line and you got someone outside of you, this is not going to be one of those things you can just like, oh, roll out the gas and it's going to stick. No, you're going to have to use some brake. So this is the racing, I think, is going to get really, really tight here. It's going to be really fun. It is, but it's going to be really tight. It's going to be a learning curve. The first week of official races here, for those who have not practiced, it's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough week. All right. So let's go turn a few laps here. We're going to look at all of the dirt cars today. We're going to look at the wing sprints, the late models, the UMP mods, the midgets, and the non-wing sprints. All right. Getting onto pit road's kind of a pain, or getting off of pit road's kind of a pain. So basically wide open. Like I said, you really got to rotate this thing. And it's kind of a diamond, right? That's one option that you have. 3 and 4, you got to be careful. I've been doing that a lot where I'm hitting the wall with my nose. So you can kind of, like I said, diamond that off. 3 and 4. Really want to make sure you got that thing rotated. You can really get down low here and hug the bottom. I think you're going to see a lot more passes in 3 and 4 than 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is so tight. The slider line is going to be really big here, especially in 1 and 2, until the track really burns off. But I'm basically I am wide open. I'm wide open right now. My foot's all the way down. This is a fresher track. I think 1 and 2 is really going to be more of a follow the leader type of. See, I did it again, right there. If that 3 and 4 is very tempting. It's really tempting to cut that corner too early. See, I did it again right there. Now the high line in 3 and 4 is definitely easier than 1 and 2. It's actually so high. That corner is actually so wide in comparison that you try to go high and you end up coming low. Like you can really. Whoops! I caught the wall that time. You can really sweep that corner around the top. I mean, it's really wide. So even when I've been running high and some of the testing that I've done, I find myself coming down off that corner. Let's see, did we turn any faster laps? No, we've been burning off the track some. So this is another thing I think that's going to happen is this track's going to really drop off. Now, one thing I also wanted to show you real quick with the winged cars, because this is a 360. I imagine that this is going to be the case with the 410s as well. Move this wing back a couple of notches. The wing is going to be your friend here, like a lot. It's going to give you a whole lot more grip. I mean, we already know that, of course, but the time, the lap time that you seem to lose by spinning your tires in certain areas, I actually think that more angle here and even moving it back earlier on in the race might be a benefit to a lot of drivers. Now, keep in mind, like I said before, I have not sat here and dialed in a setup. This is a very base setup. This is not whoa, I don't like that camera there. This is not nothing that I have sat down, but you can see right here, moving that wing back, I was doing faster laps than with the wing all the way forward. And I have it at what, 2? At 2. So, this is it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. I'm really looking forward to this. On one sense, it's going to be maddening because I'm already picturing right now the amount of combinations that I'm going to have to test at this track for setups. But on the other hand, like I said in the workshop, I geek out on this stuff. So it's going to be really interesting to see with these cars. All right. So that's the 360. Let's get the 410 up. We'll run a few laps with it real quick, and then we'll head over to the late models and mods and everything else. All right, so we've got up the 410 here. Did a few laps, not many. Definitely fast. It's really fast. 12.2, and that's, I've only turned a couple of laps here. Really, this is going to be a really fast track. I really like this track. I do. I think it's going to be interesting. Now, setup wise on this, a little bit different. Got a little bit more stagger. Got the wing at 30 degrees. Really got a lot of, got a really right rear dominant car. Got the right side raised up just a little bit more than I had with the 360. You'll notice the 410s are a lot lighter than the 360s. And so these cars, when you get these things hooked up, man, they're just like rocket ships. And so I've got the front end kind of tied down right now. The right front I've got a straight 5, and the right rear I got a straight 5. But the left side, you can see I've really got it tied down. Once I get this thing winged over, I'm really trying to keep it there. because that's what's going to keep you from sliding up. It's really, we talk about side bite. With this, we're looking for that aerodynamic side bite. I'm really wanting that wing to be my side bite. And so with this, the way that I've got it, it seemed to work pretty well. 542 gears, what I'm running for a gear. That's right out of Kokomo. Um, to be honest, and I didn't even look at what iRacing recommends. Let me see. What do they have? They have a 504. So I could probably get a much faster lap. I basically loaded a Kokomo setup and I didn't change the gear. I changed a few other things, but I didn't change the gear. So I think 504, I think that's going to be way too tall. I mean, that's like what you would run at Charlotte on a fresh track. Let's go 511. 504, that just you run that at Lernerville, don't you? I mean, I don't know. This getting out of here is going to be ridiculous with a bunch of other cars. Oh well, okay. Let's see. This thing's just so fast here. I really like it. Up wall. Woo. Figuring out how to run the top is going to really be. He who can figure out that is going to have an edge. Because everybody's going to be running the bottom, myself included. I think you're going to have to do something like that. Yeah, because if you try to pitch it, you can see that wall you just slide up. Just slide up into the wall. So running the top is I think that's gonna be, you can figure that out. Man, I think you're gonna have a real advantage. So we got down into the 12.1s with that gear change. Not sure. Really had to cut that corner. You gotta really rotate the crap out of that thing. And then did kind of a diamond line there on 3 and 4. So it's going to be interesting. It's like I said, it's a fun track, definitely fun. So that's the Wayne cars. So let's head over. Let's look at the late models and mods next, and then we'll get into the non-wing stuff. All right, so now we've got the super late models. Now I have turned a few laps here. My fastest was a 15.0. I have no idea if that's going to be a good lap. I have no clue. What I will tell you is you're going to pedal the crap out of this car here. Yeah, man, just these cars already reward you for throttle control, but man, you're really going to get rewarded for it from the little bit that I've done. Now, the setup that I've got here is pretty straightforward. I threw on basically my base and just made a couple of tweaks, softened the right front, did slight tweak to the left front shock here, and just chassis J-bar droop, took some left rear bite out of it. I felt to me like I wanted to have it be a little bit more right rear, especially right now as the track is fresh, to kind of get the car to rotate more, drive around more. That is one thing that I have seen. I've heard all kinds of people before, quote unquote, like in people in the know, where they're like, oh, you got to max out your left rear bite. You have to. You don't. I've seen setups for some very prominent drivers. I mean, we're talking like the best of the best, and I've seen them run as little as 160 pounds of right rear bite on very big tracks. So it's all about what's comfortable to you and what gives you the best comfort level to go out and drive smooth. I mean, that's really what's going to matter, especially I think at a track like this, because it's going to be really tight quarters. Now, let's go turn a couple laps here. Getting out of the pits in the late model, it's actually a little bit easier than the sprint car, which is kind of nice. Pretty much the same line. Be careful, that bump right there, going down that straightaway, especially in this car, you got a lot of left rear bite. You hit that wrong, it's going to jerk you to the fence bad. I noticed that. As you can see, you kind of drop down into the corners and you kind of come back up here. There's a bump right there before you go into the corner. I'm spending all this time talking instead of driving. But going in that corner, if you hit the throttle there and you catch that bump wrong, it shoots you to the wall. So that's going to be interesting to see how that looks towards the end of the night as the track slicks off. So, like I said, really want to roll out the throttle, get this thing rotated. Up, I went way too high there. Wall. Yep, there's that wall. It's going to be even harder to run this thing around the top than the sprint car. Let's see if we can actually... I probably should have practiced some more before I hit the record button, but I didn't want to spend 5 hours doing this today. I've got a big super late model race at Eldora I'm trying to get ready for, and so... There we go, that's better. You're gonna have to be really timid with that throttle going through the corner there. Even on a fresher track, I think these cars are gonna be. I mean, there might be times you might not even get to full throttle on a slick track with these things. Wall. Man, if you don't hit 1 and 2 just right in these late models, these things slide up more than the obviously more than the wing cars, but more than any other car that I've tested here. You know, laps 15.0 is still my best lap. I was doing consistently 15.1s. And like I said, I have no idea if that's going to be good. I have no idea what good lap times are going to be. Right? I haven't seen any results or anything. We're still in week 14. So it's going to be interesting to see, but all in all, pretty fun in the late models. I think 1 and 2 is really going to be tight with these cars, and 3 and 4 you can see some dicey passing and stuff like that. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to running a race in the super lates at this track. So let's hop over. Let's take a look at the UMP mods next. All right, so now we've got the UMP mods. I turned a few laps. 15.8 was my fast lap. I got to be honest with you. I'm using the iRacing setup. I'm not taking the time to try to dial in this one. I threw my baseline on there, and the moment that I drove it, I was like, yeah, this is going to take me a little bit to dial this in. And so I just throw on the iRacing setup, so we've got something to run here. This 3 and 4, you can actually carry quite a bit of momentum with this car. You still got to be careful though, because you know these cars have such narrow tires. If you start sliding up, you're gonna end up in the wall. You're gonna be screwed. So you really want to make sure that you got that thing pointing down the straightaway. You can see its wall just comes up fast, and you're really gonna have to catch your slide going into 1 and 2, because otherwise that thing's just going to be up into the wall, or you're going to snap it around and spin out. Definitely need a shorter gear, not revving up as much as I want. But since this is the iRacing setup, you know, this is more for like a feature race. So yeah, just make sure. I mean, really, 1 and 2's the 1 and 2's gonna be the tricky turn in these cars as well. It just is that getting into that corner without sliding up and hitting that wall is really it's really what's gonna separate the top drivers from everybody else. It really is. So let's get back to the open wheel stuff, particularly the ones that don't have wings, because that's what I'm looking forward to. Let's check out that next. All right, so we've got up the 360 non-wing here. Keep in mind the setup for the 410 is basically going to be the same thing. One thing that I am noticing is with this car, right rear dominant feels best, but you want to raise up the right rear some. So in these non-wing cars, I've been dropping them all the way down on all 4 corners on a fresh track, and that feels really good. But to get this car to be a little bit more right rear dominant, I need to either raise up the left front or raise up the right rear. When I raised up the left front, what happened was, and you can see it right here, see how the car is rolling over on that right side, and see how it's starting to hop? That's that right rear digging in and hopping. Now that is good on a slick track, but when it's tacky, we don't want that. That can cause that front end to start dancing. That's where we'll be counter steering, and then all of a sudden the front end will catch and then will jerk. So I had to raise up the right rear some. So the setup on here is very unique. We've got 11.5 inches of stagger. We've got 1050 bars down the right side, got thousands on the left. I've got the left side tied down, got straight 5 shocks on the right. And then for the ride heights, we've got -3 on the right front, -3 on the left rear. We've got 1.5 turns in the left front, and then -1.5 in the right rear. We've got 30 more pounds on the right rear. Our cross weight's only 43.5%. Now I said in the setup workshop, the percentage means nothing. We don't care about the percentage. What we care about is these rear corner weights. And 30 pounds feels pretty good to me. Now the gear 511, even I tried a 522. It was hitting the limiter, by the time you got to the end of the straightaway. Now driving this thing is wow. So these are definitely going to be the hardest cars to drive at this track, and it's not even close. You have to really let out the throttle going into 1 and 2. Whoever the non-wing driver is that can figure out how to really rip through 1 and 2 in these cars is going to win a lot of races in the beginning, because you've got to really roll out the throttle. If you enter in too low, you're going to slide up into the wall. You're going to hit that Weedsport sign like continuously. And 3 and 4 is not too bad. 3 and 4 is actually a lot like Kokomo is in the non-wing car. You can carry a lot of speed and momentum here. You got a couple of different lines, but 1 and 2, that's the one. You got to really get this thing rotated, really let off the throttle, let that car get set before you can get back into the gas. And 3 and 4, you can see I'm not wide open. I'm still playing with that throttle some. If I sat and spent some time, I could probably get through 3 and 4 wide open. But you can see, I mean, 1 and 2 is really 1 and 2 is going to be the trick with these cars. You can see if you don't hit it, I mean, I didn't get it rotated enough there, and we just slide up. I do think it's going to make for some really fun racing in these things. I am looking forward to doing some races at this track, especially in this car. Midgets too. I think the midgets are going to be fun. We're going to take a look at those next. Let's see if we can go through here without lifting. Yeah, we can. Not 1 and 2. There's no way you're going to get through 1 and 2 without lifting. I'm sure some of you out there will try, but you can see right there, I mean, I didn't get the entry right, and that thing started to wash up right there again. Look at it. I mean, if you don't hit that entry right, that thing's just going to slide up. So this is I gotta tell you, this is one of the most finesse, this might be the most finesse track in iRacing on dirt. It really is. It's a very finesse track, even more than Fairbury, which is a little tiny bull ring, right? I mean, that track, you can go out and run that thing wide open. This one, if there's a way to do it, I don't know how to yet. You can see there 1 and 2. If you can really get it rotate, you gotta. I mean, you're talking basically the flag stand. You're pitching that thing sideways. All right. Let's see if our lap times got any better there. Looks like it. Yeah, 14.1. Let's see what line we ran there. So basically, it's, you know, kind of sliding up, diamonding off the corner. Yeah, diamonding off 3 and 4 as well. I think that's really going to be the line here. Yeah, I do in all of the cars, but especially these. So that's the non-wing sprints. Let's head over. Let's take a look at the midgets before we wrap this up. All right, so now it's time for the midgets, and I gotta say, I think these are going to be the funnest cars on this track. Turned a few laps. Optimal time was 14.8. Best was a 15.0. Looking at some of the results from the week 14 that they've done so far, and keep in mind those are fixed setups, so that would actually put us on the pole quick time in a lot of the races. But it's a very new track. Like I said, it's fixed setups, so you know, there's really no way that we're going to be able to compare, you know, and know where where we're at until we just get on the track and race with other drivers. Now, I will say this. I thought going in that this was going to be, you know, really wide open and, you know, hit the line. That is not the case. You are really going to be letting off the throttle getting into 1 and 2. 1 and 2, in every car but the winged cars, you've got to roll out of that throttle. Man, if you don't, it just slides up. Now, with these, you don't have to let off as much because they're a lot smaller, but you've really got to hit that right line. And another thing you got to be careful of is these right here, coming out of the corners, going in and coming out of the corners, these are like launching pads. Really be careful. I can't tell you how many times I've launched myself in these cars, particularly the midgets. I have had some spectacular wrecks coming out of the corner and literally just launching myself like an airplane. So be careful of those, all right? If we look at the setup real quick, I want to save this because I made a couple of changes and just drove it and it felt really good. 4.5 inches of stagger. It's a lot like Kokomo in the sense that, you know, we've got a tight corner and then a really wide sweeping corner. So finding that balance is key. If I wanted to sell out for 1 and 2, I could add some more stagger. If I really wanted to get it dialed in for 3 and 4, I would take a little bit of stagger out. But 4.5 feels pretty good. We're on a 10 or 15% track. I actually increased the track state because week 1 in the officials for the midgets is Weedsport. The midgets and I want to say the super late models are at Weedsport. So insiders, it's going to be coming quickly. So trying to get this thing a little bit dialed in. On the chassis side of things, I've got the front really stiff right now. It is a fresher track, so that's one of the reasons why that will soften up as we go, but I've got it really stiff right now. 200 right front spring, 190 left front spring, 800 bars in the rear. I've got the rear dropped all the way down. I've got the front on the shock collars 3.5. Got a 5.3 shock on the right front with a 3.5 on the left front. One of the reasons I've got that left front tied down so much right now is because when you go into the corner, you're carrying a lot of speed down that straightaway, especially coming out of 3 and 4 if you hit that corner correctly. And then when you're rolling out the gas in 1 and 2, that thing wants to roll hard onto the right side. I mean, you will pick up that front end. So tying it down, trying to keep that thing to where we got that front end, on the ground so where we're not dancing everywhere and losing control. 1850 on the wheel spacing on the right side. I'm finding somewhere around 48% cross weight feels pretty good here. If I go any more, and keep in mind as the track slicks off, I'll add some more cross weight. But right now at this current track state, if I go any more, the car seems to want to push a little too much from the center out, and that you got to be careful with that wall. If I go less, the car feels like it wants to over rotate in the middle. So 48, between 48 and 48.5 seems to be about the sweet spot, at least for me. Okay. Gear 580 or 577 is really a good starting point. I'm going 580 just because you're really rolling out the throttle, and I just want to have that little bit more of pick me up coming out the corner. All right. You will hit the limiter by the time you get to the end of the straightaway. With these cars, you want to be doing that. It's not like the sprint cars where you don't want to be. You want it to happen right before. These, if you hit the limiter at the end of the straightaway, it's not that big a deal. All right, so that's the setup. Let's go turn a few laps here. Now, like I was saying, you're going to have to really roll out of the throttle in this car going into 1 and 2. And what you have to be careful about is when you go into the corner, you want to make sure that you line yourself up for a good. You can see right there. I mean, I just slowed down too much and couldn't even do it. You really want to line yourself up good from the middle out, because whoops, let me get it in gear. There we go. Because that's what's going to really save you the time, is that run down the straightaway. Now here in 3 and 4, if you want to stay down on that bottom, you might have to actually roll out of the throttle a little bit in that corner as well. And you want to try to diamond this off so you don't slide up into that wall. But you can hear, I mean, I'm really having to roll out that throttle. I'm actually thinking that the high side might be a good line in these cars when the track slicks off some. Because in order to stay on the bottom, you're going to have to roll out the throttle a lot. You can also run a slider line in 1 and 2 with these, and you'll be fast. The key, like I said, though, is just that throttle control. And that diamond line seems to really be good. It just seems to be the line around here in just about every car that I've driven. If you want to slide up something like that, you can. That's one thing you're going to have to be really careful of too as this track slicks off, coming out of 3 and 4, if you're loose coming out of this corner, you're going to be screwed, because you're going to fishtail or do that right there where then it catches and it wants to straight out and hit the wall. So your exit at this track, man, it might be, I mean, it's early to say, but it might be, out of all the tracks, your exit might be most important at Weedsport than any other one that I've raced at. It's that important. The exit is really going to be the determining factor, I think, with all of these cars. And if you can get that, you should be good. You should be fast. Let's look at our laps here real quick. All right, so mid to low 15s, which was about where people were running in race trim. I've got fuel in it and stuff like that. This would be about a heat race, so we're right there with them. Like I said, definitely need to do some dialing in with the setups and fine tuning and tweaking, but definitely a good place to start. Fun track, unique track. I will give it that. It is a very unique track. I know that everybody is now looking forward to big block mods. They'll be here sometime in the future, but I mean, we got a ways to go. So for now, have fun with these. Get out there, rip up the track, and I'll hope to see you on it. So that's going to do it all for this video. Now, really quick, do me a favor. If you like this, please hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe, okay, and hit the notification bell. Also, if you want to join me for my live stream, I'll have a link down in the description below. I live stream on Twitch a couple days a week now. I got the schedule posted up there. I will be live streaming tonight. Actually, I'm running in the Dirt Savages World 100. Tonight's the first qualifying night. It's a super late model race. And so I'm going to be running in that. I'm doing a little special. I got a special paint scheme that I'm doing up for it. Victory for Alani, one of the members in the group. Their friend's 5-year-old daughter was diagnosed with leukemia. And so kind of trying to help out with that, raise some money, donations, that type of thing, and doing a little paint scheme for it tonight. So hopefully we can go out and have a good showing tonight and Saturday night. All right, so I'll be live streaming that on Twitch. If you want to get my setups for all of the cars, you can join our Discord. I have a link down in the description below. We've also got a private Facebook group, my Facebook page, all of that stuff. I'll have links for all of that down in the description below. Okay, and our insider program, I'm actually adding the super late models and the UMP mods this season. So we'll have 7 cars that I'm doing insider setups for. 360 and 410 winged, pro and super lates, dirt midgets, UMP mods, and what's the other car that I'm missing? I can't remember. Did I get them all? Oh, 360 non-wings. So all of those. And right now you can get it for really, really cheap. And each week I put out a video breaking down the track, showing the different lines. I show you qualifying, heat race, and feature. I give you setups for all of them. A lot of valuable information. And there's a ton of drivers that have been in SSR. We've helped over 100 drivers get their first wins. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of victories over the last few months. It's been phenomenal. I mean, it's just been awesome to see that many drivers go from, struggling or, mid-pack to winning races. It's just been great. So if you want to be a part of that, you can jump over, join our Discord. It's completely free. There's a ton of people in there. It's an awesome community. And then, like I said, if you want to actually step it up to the next level, you can join the Insider program. And it starts off really, really cheap. All right. So all of those links will be down in the description below. But that's going to do it. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, I want to wish you good luck and good racing. Take care.